and reforms to improve the sector. And this is particularly the area of the teachers, and our discussions are going to rotate about the side of the teachers and how we can manage the teachers. Just as you have mentioned, teacher policy itself did not just come one day and it just happened there and there. And even the teacher management information system, but it has a background. That's briefly is what I wanted to bring to our viewers and our listeners on board. And the Ministry of Education and Sports conducted a diagnostic study, and that is the TISA, Teachers Diagnostic Study, that is TISA, Teacher Initiative in Sub-Saharan Africa. It was a diagnostic study that was concluded in 2013. The 2013, in that study, the purpose was to document the teacher issues, the issues that are affecting the teachers, both in their profession and the teaching, and on the side of the learners. So all those issues were documented in a document, which is known as the TISA. This is the document I'm talking about.
But this is for Sub-Saharan Africa.
For Sub-Saharan Africa. But Uganda participated in this activity because it cuts across the Sub-Saharan countries, and Uganda was part of it. And the study that was conducted, this is the one I'm talking about. Okay. It is on our website for the sector, and all our viewers and teachers can access this. And among the recommendations that were recommended in this TISA report was that there was need to establish the teacher management information system where we can have a central data for the teachers. And so even
the teacher management information systems is a recommendation in TISA, in the TISA study.
In the TISA study. And the purpose was that the teachers could also have a platform where they can voice their issues. Jagenda, you'll bear with me that teachers have issues. And whenever they want to raise their issues, there is no proper channel that they were following, a platform that they could voice their issues, and even get the accurate data about these teachers. Okay. And therefore, the study found out that this was a demand, that there is need to establish that teacher policy and the teacher management information system. Okay. And therefore, our discussion, that platform, that management system is the one that came from that recommendation, and our discussion throughout with you, that's why we have that as a target to disseminate to the teachers. And we call upon all the teachers out there to tune in every Friday, 3 to 4, and every Saturday the same time, so that they come to understand what it is. Now the second recommendation from the TISA report was that there was a need to develop a comprehensive national teacher policy. And in the national teacher policy, now to streamline the profession. And that is exactly how it came about, and that's how now we are picking up with thorough implementation, wide implementation and dissemination of these two documents.
Quote unquote, the Bible of what we're talking about is TISA.
Yes.
It is TISA that gives birth to TMIS. It's the same that gives to the NTP, National Teacher Policy and all things. Let me come to Commissioner Kamwana, Jonathan here. From 2019, when this policy was actually launched, to today, it will be 2 years, Teachers' Day this year. It will be 2 years. And to first of all, again, make the essence of the policy itself. Why do we even have to have the policy? Now that we know it emanates from TISA, the study that was done, why do we think it's actually important? And number two, to that, do you think that all the teachers that we have 2 years later know about this policy, or it sounds so strange to some teachers who could be listening to us now?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jagenda, and our viewers. The National Teacher Policy, as recommended by the TISA report, was approved by Cabinet on 1st of April 2019, and was launched on 5th of October 2019. And as a ministry, we embarked on the implementation, and among the implementation strategies were to disseminate the policy widely to all the stakeholders and to reach out to everybody. And we have tried our level best to reach out to all head teachers of primary teachers, primary schools through the 23 core PTCs and through the 539 coordinating centers. So we have reached out to everybody, all the teachers in the country through that approach, primary school teachers. And when we had selection last year for senior one, we addressed over 1,200 secondary school head teachers and were able to give them copies of the National Teacher Policy. We have also held regional workshops for district education officers, inspectors of schools, chief administrative officers, center coordinating tutors, and we have disseminated this policy regionally. And we have been on TV before, we have been here before disseminating the policy, and we are still here trying to tell everybody that this policy is there, and the policy has a number of aims, and that's what I'm going to go next. You realize that the teaching profession has over 350,000 members, but it's not known as a body. It's not known as a profession.
You're over 350,000?
Over 350,000. Well, I'm talking about teachers. Those in the nursery schools, those in the primary schools, secondary schools, technical schools, nursing schools, all institutions. You know, when we talk about teacher policy, we are using a teacher to refer. We don't want to come to these other nomenclatures like professors, lecturers, instructors, tutors. We are talking about all of them in the policy as teachers, and this policy is addressing all of them as teachers. We want this one to be a profession like other professions. We have the medical profession, they have a medical council, we have the engineers, we have the accountants, and the lawyers, and these people have their professional ethics. So we want to professionalize the teaching profession. We want to come up with a council, a National Teacher Council by Act of Parliament to regulate the profession. Not everybody should be called a teacher. We are giving our children to people who are masquerading as teachers when they are not really teachers. So the first priority action for us as a ministry is to put a National Teacher Council in place by Act of Parliament. And you have said, what have we done? Already we have done a baseline study for the whole country. We have come up with 9 principles of the teacher council, the teacher bill. We have submitted these 9 principles of the teacher bill to cabinet. And once the cabinet approves the 9 principles of the teacher bill, we are going to go to the drafting level of the bill. And when we finish the drafting, then we shall put the bill on the floor of Parliament, and we have a teacher act to regulate the profession. And I think that one is a good idea for us and for the country to have a regulatory body regulating teachers. Teachers are doing bad things from one area, they run to another area and get employed. But with this body in place, we shall be able to put the profession in line. You cannot.
What serves as a council today before the council comes on? Is there anything like a council?
Right now, we have what we call a professional code of conduct, which is being implemented by the Education Service Commission. But like we have the Law Council, they have the Judicial Service Commission, we have the Medical Council, we have the Health Service Commission. So Health Service Commission is employing you in the government, but not regulating the profession. Right. We're talking about a council which will regulate the profession, the teaching profession, whether you are a lecturer, whether you are a nursery school, whether you are a private school. We want to regulate the profession because we have professional ethics that we must guard and guide through an act of Parliament. So that is the first big action. The teacher policy is coming in place, and you have said, what have we done 2 years along the road? We have been able to do a baseline study. We have been able to come up with the 9 principles. We have submitted them before cabinet. And once the cabinet approves the principle, we shall move to drafting a bill and place it before the floor of Parliament.
What are some of those 9 principles?
Those will come to them later.
Okay.
I just wanted to look at what are the aims of this council, the teacher policy. Secondly, this policy is aiming at enhancing the productivity, the motivation, the creativity, and the innovativeness in the teaching profession. We want to produce globally competitive teachers that are competent in terms of delivery, in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge. So that's why we are saying we should come up with the Uganda National Institute of Teacher Education to guide all institutions in this country which are training teachers. If you want to train a teacher, there are things we want you to go through that. Not anybody should become a teacher. We want somebody who is globally competent. We are talking globally competent. We are benchmarking the best countries in teacher education. Singapore, Finland, here we are talking about Nigeria and other, Ghana, Kenya. We want to globally produce competent teachers. That's why the policy is recommending that all teachers, please underline, all teachers who are to teach at any level, the minimum qualification should be a degree, because they are handling brains of people. So what we put there, we should be sure that what we're going to deliver will help this learner to be able to think, critical thinking, not remembering who discovered the source of the Nile. That one we're not going to go through. We want people who can create, who are creative, who can critically analyze the situations, who can communicate. So we want teachers who are highly competent to be able to deliver on the part of our learners, so that we improve on the learning outcome. Many of our graduates are on the streets because they are not creative. They were able to learn and produce what they learned in class, but they are not creative. So it was because the teachers are not competent. So we are going to, the policy is talking about competent teachers to be produced. And the policy action we are doing there, we are coming up with the Uganda National Institute of Teacher Education. Unity. You said, how far have you gone? There will be a program on Unity alone here, along the way. Okay. But last year, in August, on 28th, our minister, Mama, Janet Kataha-Museveni, inaugurated, launched the task force of 6 people. It is now headed by Professor Ezat, Dr. Ikoru, Dr. Ine, Mr. Sizomu, Mr. Barugahare, and who else? And Dr. Namubiru. These are highly competent brains of the country, because Professor Ezat is from Makerere, heading the School of Education. Dr. Aikoro is from Kyambogo University, heading the School of Education. Dr. Namubiru is from Kyambogo University. Dr. Ine is from National Council of Higher Education. They are trying to put together an institution which is going to guide the teaching of teachers in this country. Okay. Then we are looking at the 21st skills, the cross-cutting issues, which we have not put on emphasis in teacher education. So for example, recently we had COVID in this country, and all school institutions were closed on 20th of March last year. And we wanted, as a response, to continue teaching our learners, and our learners continue learning. In the middle of the pandemic. During the period of pandemic. And the only way to go was to go digital. But how many of our teachers were prepared for that, to teach digitally to our learners? How many of our learners were prepared for that? Now we wanted even TV programs. I'm even telling you that even the TV program, we had not prepared teachers adequately to prepare to present TV programs. Because not everybody can present a TV program. Radio programs. We had not prepared our teachers to teach using...
without having physical attendance in class or so.
So
you're talking to people that you do not know.
Either a classroom or no learning. So with this pandemic, we are saying we want to get teachers who can, with 21st century skills, digital learning, we're talking about life skills, we're talking about communication. Not everybody can communicate. You are aware of this, that somebody is supposed to communicate, to be able, that's just, communication is a skill which we must give to our learners, but the teachers must be prepared to give this skill to our learners. And then all the other cross-cutting issues, environment, you know what's happening with our environment today. Just today, this morning, you saw the floods in town. They are coming because we are not teaching our children about the need to protect and preserve the environment.
Okay.
The gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence. All those issues.
Commissioner Kamwana.
Yeah.
Hold it there. I'll come back to you. Let me get to Mr. Ward Valentine here, the IT expert. Talk to us about the teacher management information systems. Let's get to understanding what it is. Because I remember sometime, I think last year, 2019, at the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, there was a group of young innovators who also came up with something called AIMS, the Academic Information Management Systems, which is actually in public universities of our country. Let me understand what TMIS is, how it works, and how it helps on the good things that the two commissioners have said.
Thank you, Mr. Jagenda. TMIS is a short form for Teacher Management Information System. Just like you said, a few years ago, some innovators went to the Ministry of ICT. I think by the time they went there, TMIS was on, because TMIS was launched in 2018 October by the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports. TMIS is a simple, user-friendly solution or application that is meant to harmonize teacher information and data from all the administrative levels. Now, TMIS was established to counter overwhelming complaints that teachers were facing. A teacher had to travel from wherever he or she is, up county, to come and register as a teacher. You may not be known, but every teacher in this country must be registered by the Ministry of Education and Sports. Upon completion of your studies, you must present the academic documents. Initially, this was being done manually. And you could come to the ministry headquarters and teachers were all over, filling up the corridors that had come to register. We said no.
But you qualify from Kaliro NTC?
You would come to the ministry.
Or from Nagongera?
Or even from Nayop, any college. You must come to the Ministry of Education. Anywhere.
You move from Geta, then you come to the ministry.
To the ministry headquarters to present your documents. We said no,
to be enrolled.
Not to be registered, to be recognized.
Okay.
Ministry must issue a certificate of registration to confirm that indeed the institutions you went to are accredited by the National Council of Education, and the ministry knows the institution. Teachers would come from anywhere. If I told that was not in place, I would come from anywhere and I say I'm a teacher. But who would license me, would regulate me, that whatever I have qualifies me to be a teacher. And that's the work of the Ministry of Education and Sports. So upon the launch of TMIS, teachers were required now no longer to go to the ministry. They were advised, please now, you can go wherever you are. So long as you have an internet-enabled device, be it a laptop, be it a smartphone, be it an iPad, any, so long as it has internet access. Then you access our website, the system website, which is www.tmis.go.ug. Once you log into that website, you access the TMIS interface, the system interface. Any teacher can go into that. Anybody can try and access. Anyone from wherever you are. Just ensure that your gadget has what? Internet. But before that, there are requirements. So towards the launch of TMIS, a lot of documentations were done, sensitizations. The ministry officials moved from one place to another to sensitize teachers all over the country. What must a teacher have to register? Not anybody can register. And one of the key areas where do you have a valid documentations for whatever course you did, like in education, whatever university you went to, whatever college you went to, are these documents recognized? If they are, then you were advised to go back to the college or to the university to get them certified. We needed certified documents, apart from documents from examination bodies like UNEB and UBTEB and other examination bodies. Those ones, we advised teachers to load them into the system the way they are. You scan the original. You don't photocopy and you scan.
You scan the original.
The original, we want to see the key features.
It comes from UNEB or UBTEB.
And other examination bodies. Must be the original. But these other college documents, you must revisit your university.
Okay, for certification.
As for certification. For grade 3 major is done by Shambogo University because Shambogo examines them. But for these other universities, you go to where the awarding institution gave you.
Okay.
So when you get to the system, you visit the website I just mentioned. A simple interface will come. Upon accessing the simple interface, you fill in a few details. System is very user-friendly. TIM is one of the most user-friendly systems we have. Just like other registration system. Again, if you can recall, we are moving to a digitalized environment. Everything now is online. When you go to URA and you want to have your TIN number, you do it online. When you go to, right now, to apply for visa, you must do what?
You do it online.
You do it online. When you're applying to the Public Service Commission, you do it what? So there's no way we can remain in the ancient society when we are now moving towards digitalization. Even Corona has done it more harm in that you must accept to go digital. Because we never know. Today we have COVID-19. Tomorrow you may have COVID-30. So what shall we do? We have to go into that. Now, an assumption that we then did not have TIMIS. How would we manage? Teachers coming and being registered manually into what? Into the Ministry of Education and Sports. So TIMIS simplified all this. And if I can tell you, we've registered over 190,000 teachers into the system.
190,000
teachers over. All have been issued certificates. Now, this is a continuation. Remember, teachers keep coming off from the universities. The registration would be one time, but the more you add onto your documents, the more you add onto your academic qualifications, the more we must know that which one have you added.
Okay.
Yes.
Very important. We'll come back and discuss TIMIS. Let's talk about the mission and the vision of the policy itself, because I now see the conversation and the discussion building steam. And these are very good things when we talk about them. We only pray that they actually happen someday, because they're very good. When you hear Commissioner Kamwana here, you think we are in some utopia of education of sorts. What are some of the missions, the vision, and even the target of the policy itself?
Thank you, Jagenda, once again. The teacher policy, as I mentioned, by the time it came to be realized, it was evidence-based, meaning that if you are to have a meaningful policy, you must base on an evidence. So our policy, the way we handled it, it was evidence-based approach of developing this policy. And therefore, if it is evidence, you must look at this policy, where is it, what is it targeting, where is it taking the country? And it must have now the vision. And the vision for the national teacher policy is to have a transformed teaching profession. Transformed, meaning that it is at a certain level, but we want to transform it, rebrand it. And once we get it to another level, then we realize the quality. Remember that this is the teacher that determines the quality of education of a country. Without the quality of a teacher, then you don't expect the best for the country, because this is a determining factor. Therefore, this teacher, we want him to be transformed from the way he has been, taking care of all the standards that we are talking about, into a profession that now gets the quality of our education. And this, and also to create a learning environment which is having the best skills for the competitive teacher. And once we have the environment which is good for the teacher, that is taken care of now. What is the environment the teachers are working in? Do we need to keep the way it is, or we need to move so that we realize the best products? Now, when we looked at now the vision, we said now we need to come up with the vision, the mission for this teacher policy. The mission is to produce quality, motivated, adaptable, accountable teachers that are responsive to our education development needs. Jagenda, most of the teachers that we've been having, they qualify as teachers, but they are looking for a job, and they are deployed as teachers. But it goes to teach without asking himself or herself, what am I responding to as far as the country's development is need? What is the education needs? What are these areas that I need now to respond to? So that when you prepare, a teacher is prepare to go and teach, must be looking at, I'm going to handle learners, but are you accountable to those learners? Whatever takes place in the classroom, the teacher, he just goes to class, he teaches to fulfill the time of teaching.
But what are you responding to? It is very important.
That's very important.
Because now that we have the National Development Plan,
yes,
we have the Vision 2040, yes, and we also have the SDGs.
Yeah.
Now all these things are coming on at virtually to be implemented during the same decade. Now we talk about the National Teacher Policy, which is running in the same decade with the SDGs, with the next phase, actually next phase of our Vision 2040. Yes. So that's very important. How does it respond to the bigger visions?
To a bigger vision and of the country. So the teacher policy is now putting up, how can we improve the competences of this teacher so that he is able to respond to the country's need. You are in a school. Do you know what it takes in a school? Or you are there as an employee and you teach and go out. But are you accountable to the results, the learning outcomes of the learners? Because the learner is the future citizen. That's why you see that there is even a difference in the performance. A school A performs better than a school B. Why? And all these that are teaching the learners in those two schools, trained in the same schools. But the fact that this teacher is not trained to be accountable to whatever takes place in the classroom, to whatever takes what it takes about the results, and you see, I'm accountable. If I don't produce the best results at the end of the year, the final results, he says, yeah, I think the students, that's how they performed, forgetting that it's supposed to be accountable to the teachers. And that's what we are talking about, a teacher who is accountable and a teacher who can adapt the situation and then have an improvement, who takes care of. And that is what we're talking about in the mission. Okay. And even the quality of the teacher that we want to get there. You realize that over time there have been complaints that now the teachers that we are these days that we are having are not like those ones that we are taught by you, Jagenda. And right now that is what the teacher policy wants to address.
To bring back our teachers.
To bring back that teacher, to rebrand the teacher that we want. Can we brand the profession so that the teacher that is required is the one that we produce.
But specific policy targets for the policy itself? The
policy itself is targeting all teachers at all levels. Early child development level, call them kindergarten, or nursery teacher commonly as known.
And those also must have bachelor's degrees.
Those ones, we shall be talking about that. This is just the beginning.
This is the
so we are targeting the teachers at nursery level, primary level, secondary level, business and technical and vocational education and training level, and tertiary institutions. Call it the universities. This teacher policy is coming up to tighten that every teacher who goes through those levels must have been trained in one way or the other. The universities, you have experience that at universities they call them lecturers, and they say, and they are proud of that, being called lecturers. But this is a small unit. This is a small method used to teach.
To lecture?
To teach. To teach, that's one of the methods. When they are lecturing, because it's using a lecture method.
Yeah, when they call it, when they call them lecturers, they're not any different or special from teachers.
Yes.
It's lecturing is just a small unit of it.
But some of them
don't want to be called teachers.
They don't want to be called teachers.
They want to be called lecturers.
The fact is because they are not trained teachers professionally. But this one who gets a first class and is retained at the university as an assistant lecturer. And when he stays there, he picks now the competences of teaching slowly by slowly, and eventually will call himself a teacher without going through training
because
to become a professional.
As this profession, but they go to first class and were retained in university.
That is it. So the teacher policy is saying that for you now to stand before the learners, you must go through the teacher training, whatsoever level. At least that's for the adults, even if they are adults, we are calling now back and say, you know what? There is the way you are supposed to be trained as a teacher and deliver the subject matter in a professional way. So the targets are targeting all those teachers. At all the levels, you must be trained as a teacher, qualified and be registered with the Ministry of Education and Sports.
Commissioner Kamwana, let me see the role of the Ministry of Education and Sports in the implementation of the National Teacher Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Jagenda. The Ministry of Education is responsible and accountable for the successful implementation of the policy. Obviously, together with other line ministries, because we're talking about Ministry of Public Service, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Finance, who are supposed to give us the money, but we are responsible. And even before this policy was launched and even approved by Cabinet, we had the thorough consultative meetings with these other ministries on what their part will be in implementing this policy. So for example, Ministry of Finance gave us a certificate of financial implication. They said you are going to commit to finance the policy, financial commitment. Every minister gave us a go-ahead. So for us, we are responsible for the implementation of this policy, and we're already doing it as per government recommendation that we implement the policy. But also we are recommending and collaborating with all the stakeholders. You remember I told you here earlier at the beginning of this presentation that we are working with the local governments, the district officials, we are working with center coordinating tutors, we are working with the private education service providers. We are working with the bodies like Uganda National Teachers Union, UNATRU. Yeah, we are working with UNATRU. We are working with the faith-based organizations, because many of our institutions were started by the church. And they are partners in education, so we can't leave them out. So we have a coordination role of this policy. And that's why you see that we have very, very many stakeholders, because even the parents are stakeholders. The communities are stakeholders in this teacher policy. And I just wanted to mention what my colleague Moses has said. We are talking about all teachers. And people who are listening to us, we're talking about all teachers. Getting a first degree does not make you a teacher. Because a teacher, apart from passing on knowledge, you need to have the methods, the pedagogical knowledge, the andragogical knowledge of passing on information to the learners. But apart from passing on information, we have also the assessment. Learners have to be assessed. But learners, they are not there to just receive information. They are there to receive skills. They are there to receive values. How do we pass on values to our learners? How do we pass on skills? Jagenda, for you to be here, to be employed, if you're not a good communicator, I don't think any broadcasting house will employ you. But that is a skill we need to give very many Uganda. Not many of them can do what you are doing here. So it is a skill. Even so that we coordinate and ensure that all people who are in the teaching profession, who stand before, can be able to give skills, knowledge, and values to the learners. But also we need to monitor and evaluate. Where have we gone? Now you have asked, the very first question you asked, now 2 years along the road, what have you done? We must be accountable to this country. In line with what you said, the Sustainable Development Goals, Vision 2040, National Development Plan 3. For us, we have the Education Strategic Plan, and as a department, we have the strategic plan for our department. We are aligning, the teacher policy is properly aligned with all those international frameworks and national frameworks to ensure that what is supposed to be achieved is achieved for this country. And we can achieve all these frameworks if we go through the teachers, if we have competent, productive, innovative, creative teachers who are adaptive to any environment. Because we are going to say we're producing teachers for Kampala, we are producing teachers for every child in this country, and the teacher whom I said earlier on is globally competent. We are exporting manpower abroad, and we are talking about abasirikale abatakwata mundu. We are talking about exporting teachers who are globally competent, that they can teach in any part of the world. So don't look at this policy driving it at teachers who are going, if he's going to be an ECD teacher, he should be a global teacher who can teach in any part of the world, in an early childhood center, in a primary school setting. And that's why we need the support of each and every stakeholder to look at this policy, because sometimes when they come to TV, they say, why do you need a degree for an ECD teacher? Exactly. We need highly competent people. We're not only producing for our country, we are producing for the globe. We're not only producing for Kampala, we are producing for every, that's why Moses was saying, adaptable teachers who can suit in every situation, in every part of this country. And this is the only policy this country has ever had, which is going to be a turning point, if properly implemented, for the whole country in terms of innovations, in terms of development, because it is going to bring a kind of teacher who will be able to help every child to be productive, to be innovative, to be able to fit in the community and be able to produce and make this country globally competitive. And we have the president has been articulating. We want to say middle income country. It is through the teacher policy that we can achieve this, because all the transformations, all the things we're talking about can only go through competent teachers passing on to the over 15 million children in our institutions.
Commissioner, I'm looking at a very good thing, and you're pushing us towards a very organized system. We are Ugandans, or we are even Africans. There are people who are used to status quo, and they don't want very organized settings, very organized systems. And you're finding resistance from amongst yourselves to start with. If somebody says, I am just training as a nursery school teacher, for heaven's sake, why would I even get a bachelor's degree? Why do I need a bachelor's degree to start talking to toddlers in ECDs? Somebody would think like that, because we are used to a setting where I can know how to manage myself from one school to another school, and in a way, then as I also think about other things. I am doing this maybe as I'm planning. Two, Jagger has some money and he starts up a nursery school somewhere or school. People do these things, and my wife becomes the administrator, my brother becomes the basa, my daughter who is in next 6 vacation becomes the basa, and another. In a way, then we have a school, and they're the ones teaching, because my daughter who is in senior 6 says, but can't I teach English to the ECDs here, and get there? Won't you get resistance, or aren't you getting resistance already from among yourselves?
Thank you, Jagenda. Already we are getting resistance, and the reason we are appearing before the viewers here and trying to sensitize the public, nobody will change our country.
It has to be us.
It is supposed to be us. Already people are resistant to change. But there's what we call change management. And this is what we are doing. The reason we are here is to ensure that we advocate for the policy, we disseminate the policy, we make Ugandans appreciate that where we are is not the best, but we can move somewhere. And that's why we are making all these TV programs, we are going to regional meetings, we are telling everybody that this is the best program policy we can never have in this country. So resistance is going to be there. People are going to come up with a number of questions, like they can ask, why degree? The question would be, Mr. Jagenda, which person will trust your child with? A graduate in nursery or a dropout from senior 4? Whom would you trust your child with? Somebody of
course, a trained teacher with a bachelor's from university.
With a bachelor's degree. Properly trained, adaptive, productive, creative, and innovative at that level. And somebody, first of all, this is about attitude and aptitude. Like Moses was saying, all those who think they have failed want to say, let me go to teaching as a last resort. Before that, teaching was the first choice. Only those who were the best, and in a country like Finland, only people who have the highest passes go to teaching. I was in China, and they said, if you ask any parent what job would he or she wish to have her child join, he would say teaching. Here in Uganda, if you ask any child, do you want to join teaching? They don't want to join teaching, because people Only those who fail are going to teaching. We want to reverse this. The teacher policy is saying we should change this. And we want the teacher to be highly professional, highly respected. That is why, because at the end of the I know you're going to ask, will this have any impact on what they are earning? Why should you agitate for high pay when you have a lower qualification? Teachers out there, why do you ask for pay rise when your qualification is still at the lowest at a certificate level? Get a degree and we are able to pay you very well. Yes.
Grow your
qualification and we also pay you very well because we're advocating for pay increment.
Okay.
And two, what makes a difference? Somebody teaching history S6 and somebody teaching ECD, who requires more qualification? Somebody who is teaching your P1 child and somebody teaching maybe CRE, paper 1, Old Testament at senior 6. You know, that difference, you know, I'm teaching in secondary, I'm teaching in primary. We want to say, if you are a teacher, you are a teacher. You make just a choice. I say, I'm a teacher but teaching in nursery. They're going to go through the same formal training, and then you branch off and say, for me, I'm going to teach, but I will teach nursery. For me, I will teach lower primary, I will teach upper primary, I will teach second. When you have all the basics of what makes you to be a teacher, why should we pay more money to somebody teaching, maybe sometimes the 4, 10 people doing chemistry at senior 6, and leave the one teaching 140 in P1?
Who have
That's a big number.
They said everything.
What did we get as in terms of returns as a government from the 4 and from the 140? We need to invest more in the 140.
You have a class of only 4 doing chemistry.
Yes.
But you have 120 students doing English, studying English in primary school.
Primary school. So for us, we are saying, once a teacher, you should have the same qualification. You have to choose where to go. You have to teach your chemistry at senior 6. You teach your P1, but you get the same qualification.
Okay.
That's how the teachers will be upgraded. And you say, I'm a teacher. Okay. Where do you teach? Secondary. Where do you teach? Primary. But we're at the same level. But today you find a primary school teacher at a lower cadre, a secondary school teacher at a higher cadre, a lecturer. We want them to be at the same time. The difference is where you are teaching, but you are what? A teacher. These lecturers who are teaching at the university. Only one area of the profession. That's where he says, I'm a professor. And you know, they agitate even for a lot of money we pay to them. They are leaving, those who produce, who give them the biggest number, which come to the university, they don't mind about them. So that's why we are saying, we are going to monitor and evaluate the implementation, the frameworks, and look at the SWOT analysis. What are the weaknesses, what are the strengths in our implementation? So for us as a ministry, we are on road, we are already implementing, and we are somewhere, and we are sure that if all stakeholders understand, they should be our cadres, and especially you people on the press, you should be the cadres because you want to cause a change, a revolution in the education system of our country. Sure. This is a fundamental change which is going to bring the development, trigger the development of this country. So we need everybody on board. We need the church to help us. We need the mosques to help us. We need community leaders to help us. So that when a child gets to school, you see somebody from a school who can reason. Many of the things that are happening on the streets, when you drive in Kampala, you hate driving. Why? Not because people need to go to school, but they don't value each other. They don't value other people's life. We are teaching about life skills, value system. How do you value a person? Why don't we have the same accidents elsewhere? Because education system is pumping mathematics, science without life skills, without values, without morals. We are saying no. We should be a university graduate who can value. If you are in a studio like this one, you even value the property. There are those who value property even at the places of work. They break cameras, they break what they don't value. And sometimes when I see people breaking people's cameras, I say, did they go to school? Were they taught to value? Because the camera is something, is an instrument that we are using to communicate to others. I don't want to see somebody breaking it. So
and very expensive. Some of these cameras
this is because we need to do our part as teachers to teach the value. If I have a problem with your camera, I can withdraw it but not break it. Then I say, I have a problem with this camera, I'm retaining it, then I will give it back to you. Because I know money has been spent to acquire this camera, I will give it back to you in touch so that you can use it for. So we want to teach value system in our education so that we value property. If I'm in a government, I should value every property government has assigned to me. Look at how many government properties are being vandalized by highly educated people. Lack of value system. Teacher policy talking about Competent teachers who can pass on values, skills, knowledge, competence, communication. Okay. And this is what we need as a country.
Okay, Mr. War, our time is running out, but I need to come to here on the TIMS issue here, the management information systems. Did you tell me how it works?
I think I didn't tell you, but I can tell you.
Please tell me.
TIMS works in two different platforms. The end of the teacher and at the end of the ministry. Now we have the section of how a teacher registers and what happens after the registration process is completed. Then we have the section of what happens at the back end of the ministry. Now once a teacher has uploaded the documents, certified documents, the teacher submits. Upon submission, a teacher gets a confirmation email. You know, you must have a working email before you go to the TIMS website. So the system communicates to the teacher.
As a requirement, before I even upload my documentation, I must have an email.
Functional, not just an email.
Functional email.
Which you have access to. Because you can come and put some email that you've forgotten the password.
Email whose password I actually know.
You don't know. Remember,
put an email whose password I know.
Whose password, or you put for your neighbor, or for your other somebody who goes and changes the password. So what happens is, the system communicates to you through the email at whatever step. If you submit, the system responds auto-generated. If we start verifying you, the Department of Teacher Instruction, Education and Training, where the commissioner here heads, is in charge of verifying these documents. He has a team on the ground that even as we talk now, they are doing the work. You get it? So once a teacher submits, we have 3-level stages. The first level, we have a team there that checks the document on arrival. If you have submitted, the team there cross-checks to confirm whether everything is okay, you follow the procedure, and you are not lacking anything. If there's something missing there, you are bounced. You're either approved and you're forwarded to the second level, or you are rejected and it bounces back to you.
Okay. So there's no way that I can flout the system?
There's no way.
That I can go to another step without
you cannot.
Filling in some other thing?
You cannot.
Okay.
Because how will you jump first stage to go to the second stage?
Is there a chance to correct anything in the process? Or
very true.
Once I close in, I've closed in?
No. We have options of corrections. Actually, before you submit, there's a preview option. Okay, to be sure. To be sure. You just have to read everything that you've put to confirm whether are they yours? Are the spellings correct? Are the details correct? Date of birth and the rest, where you come from. You get? Then upon confirmation, you submit. So when it comes at the end of the ministry here, the Department of TET, first level verification, if something is wrong, you are queried. We call them rejection or queried. So the notification will come back to you. Remember, they put a reason why this is being done. So any teacher that was queried or rejected has a reason in his email or her email why that action was taken. So we advise you on what to do to come back to the system. You make a few corrections. If you're okay, the team there forwards you to second level, where the principal education officer, Mr. Mazibategenya, works at that level. At that level, he still rechecks what the first level did. He confirms. At this level, he also does the grading. Which level do you lie? We have critical stages of teachers. Each level, we have grade 3, we have grade 5, then we have the graded, we have instructors, we have tutors. So at that position, the group of Mr. Moses here, Bategenya, cross-checks the documents you attached and gives you a grade in accordance to your qualification. So if everything is okay, he forwards you to the commissioner's level. At that position, commissioner confirms that indeed what Mr. Moses' group did is correct. If something is correct, something is wrong, he bounces back to level 1. If everything is all right, the commissioner here will issue a certificate of registration, and that will mark the end of the registration process. A teacher will get this certificate in the email. So I get the certificate eventually, having gone through the process. All the through process. And nothing has been rejected. Nothing. The system auto-generates for you a certificate back to your email. So I get a digital certificate. Signed digitally, given a digital number that we can verify whether you went to NASA University and forged, or any other person can verify. So I can print it from my laptop, from my computer, anywhere. Even if you're in Dubai and you got a chance there to teach, you can register from there if you have your documents, and we shall respond to you from there. We've had our teachers who flew out of the country in Canada, and they were telling them to verify the documents.
Their qualifications.
They did registration from Canada. The
Online.
commissioners here worked on their documents.
Okay.
And they got the certificate direct from there. Unlike those days, they would have traveled back to the country, come manually at the ministry, and then go back. I think you can see how the ministry is up in the games.
No, it is a good step in the right direction, which I think so. Mr. Bateganya,
yes.
Specific objectives of the policy, because our time is running out. We have about 10 minutes, in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Specific objectives of this particular policy.
Yeah, just as I mentioned, after the mission and the vision, the specific objectives are very, very clear and they are precise. For teachers who are there, I encourage you to read that, the National Teacher Policy, and get the specific objectives. The first specific objective is to streamline the teacher management for better productivity, because we want the teacher who is productive, just as mentioned. We want it for discipline. The teacher that we want to have the discipline of the teacher that we intend, and that's very critical, and that's the area that we are talking about. Then briefly, there is also where we want to strengthen the pre-service and in-service training of the teachers. The teacher training, in order to enhance their competences for effective delivery of the learning outcomes, and not only the learning outcomes, but also on the leadership of our institutions. And that is a component that we shall be discussing in details. Okay. We are in our training under that specific objective. We are targeting that can we get the leaders who can really manage the institutions, and there is a specific that will be training for them. And under that we shall be having the training specifically what my commissioner was talking about, the training of the 3 categories of teachers. The one who is a specialized as a teacher, then the one who is specializing as a leader in the institution. The agenda doesn't mean that if you are good in a classroom, you are as well a good manager. No, those two are different. Therefore, that specific objectives is targeting that. And then when we are talking about also to enhance the competences of the teachers, this is through the curriculum, standardizing what type of harmonizing the curriculum for the training of these teachers. We are going to review all the curriculum for the teachers that this teacher policy is calling for at all levels, as we have mentioned, ECD, secondary, primary, and all those levels. So we are going to look at that. Then another specific objective is that we want to streamline the integration, or to ensure the integration of cross-cutting issues in all the aspects of teacher training. These are the areas that my commissioner was talking about. These are looking at, can we look at training these teachers as they go through the teacher training, look at the gender issues, look at the special needs education, look at the ICT. The ICT, what is talking about now, it calls for the teacher to be digital. That's what the emphasis we had. We had the teacher, our 3rd teacher education symposium, and was looking at having a digitally competent teacher for the 21st century. And that's what we want now, that cross-cutting element to feature in all our teacher training components. We are talking about environment. Teachers don't understand the environment. When you look at the special needs, there are so many our children that are now having special needs education demand. But once the teacher is not trained specifically to handle the learner in that category, most of them are going to be dropouts. And indeed, that's what we are talking about. Then we want also to standardize the teacher training, development, and enhance the competences for the leadership.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Kamwana.
Yes,
the other man was talking about his management information systems, and I just want to know how that is benefiting the ministry. I want to see how you, the ministry, are benefiting from all these IT issues.
Thank you, Mr. Jagenda. Now, if you go to Ministry of Education and look at, we have flow 4 where we have the registry, you can sympathize with the workers. Because all teachers have files at the Ministry of Education, and we have a registry, we have file numbers, so we go and look for a file number to be able to take an action on one teacher, and it may take a day to get a file. but we are going to get easily accessible data that you can get all the information about Mr. Jagenda in a click of a button. That is very important. We need to know how many teachers do we have, teaching which subject, how many are entering, how many are getting out. So we need accurate data about our teachers. Right now, the files are here, but you cannot easily say these are secondary school teachers, these are in the primary teachers colleges, these are in the technical schools, these are in the nursing school. The files are many. So it takes a lot of time to take action to get accurate information about any particular teacher in the ministry. So with this teacher management information system, we shall have the data that we need about our teachers. How many are entering, how many are getting out, and in which subject do we need to recruit more teachers, in which subject do we have a few teachers. All this information will be by a click of a button. So that information is very important. But also, there are many people out there who are masquerading as teachers. And the benefit for us as ministry, with this digital registration, the teacher management information system, many of them, and when you hear them make noise out there, they don't have the qualification, but they were able to go to NASA Road, be able to go through particular local governments, and go to jobs elsewhere in the district as teachers. We are now getting them on this system. They cannot register. And soon, we are going to gazette all the teachers so that we even have a case. In case you are masquerading as a teacher, we can go to court and say, you are not a teacher, and you cannot teach. And many of these people are handling our children, our future leaders. You know, when we are talking about a teacher, sometimes we narrow it down. But we are talking about somebody who is teaching the next president of this country, the next producer of this program, the next speaker of parliament, the next medical officer who is going to operate on your brain, on your heart. So wherever we talk about teachers and teaching children, we are looking at the potential that is in that child. But anybody is messing up. Jagenda, if you are messed up in the process, will not be what you are. I will not be here. But because you are helped by somebody, and we want to make many Jagendas out there, we want to make many commissioners outside there, and we must delicately handle. So somebody who is trusting with our children must be competent. So this system is going to help us weed out all those who are masquerading and who are tampering with the future of our learners out there. So we shall weed them out and have only those who are supposed to be teaching. But also, when we look at, say for example, on the payroll, when you have this information, it will be easily important, easy for us.
I actually wanted to ask the same question. Does the management information systems also help on the payroll bit of it?
That's where I'm
because
going.
That's one of the biggest
because many teachers have been saying, I'm not getting on the payroll. I cannot access the payroll. Sometimes they don't reveal that I'm not accessing the payroll because I have something missing on my documents. All they go is to go on the streets, get journalists, give information, and at this level, I'm very happy that the Uganda National Teachers Union is with us on this journey. UNATO. Because they have been at the forefront fighting for the rights of the teachers. But we're saying the right is okay. You be a pressure group, but fight for the right people. Because many of them are masquerading. So this one is going to help us. So once we gazette these teachers, we're also going to upload the system into public service payroll, and eventually those who are not properly registered will be deleted from the payroll. And viewers out there, for teachers who have not registered on the system, we are in the process of gazetting all the teachers who have been registered on the teacher management system. And once we gazette them, the next process will be to upload this file into public service so that those who are not seen on the system, they will be automatically auto-eliminated. So I want to urge teachers out there.
So to the teachers, it means if I go through the registration online and I successfully do it, then I am sure I am recognized, I am known, and I am with the public service.
Anybody in the world, even you, if you had the system here, You just click
I'll
on,
just go to it.
and you if
Whether Owori is a teacher,
yeah, you just get the number here and put in, and the name will come, Owori, date of birth, the qualification, everything will come out.
Okay.
And this is not only for us, a Ministry of Education, but Ministry of Public Service.
Okay.
Even these people who are going to Parliament and they have their papers queried, if somebody went to Parliament and says a member of the teacher,
exactly,
they just click in and you see whether he's a teacher or like. They don't need to. Yes.
Well,
Simple system.
thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Our time is running out. 1 minute from you, just as closing remarks, Ndugu. Your final comment in just less than 1 minute.
The final comment I would say, teachers should come and register. These are very short steps. System is user friendly. Come on board. Don't sit behind. And those that have done it with us, kongs. Okay. Like the commissioner is saying, gazetting is upcoming. An assumption that your name is not in the list. What happens? So to teachers and viewers, please come on board and register.
Does it have a timeline to do? Or
no, we don't have timeline. Because registration is a continuation process.
Continuation process.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But so long as you have your documents ready, please get on and get registered.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much, Mr. Valentine Owori, the IT man there from the Ministry of Education and Sports. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much, Commissioner Kamwana. Finally from you, Commissioner Bateganya.
Yeah.
A statement before I get out of studios.
Yeah, thank you, Jagenda. My final word to these teachers and all of you who are viewing, you the teachers in the private sector and in public, this teacher policy is for your good. Okay. It is for your good, and it is coming to respond to all your needs. And indeed, we just
buy a copy of it?
No, it is a free copy. We have disseminated, but we are continuing going on to disseminate this teacher policy across the country. Okay. And you, the teachers, we just only calling you, especially in private sector. Okay. We are calling, we shall be having the private people from the private sector to come and talk about this teacher policy. But it's for the good of our country, for the good of our profession. Okay. We only call upon you to buy in or adapt to the interventions that we are coming up. These are new reforms for the better profession, teaching profession in the country. Thank you very much. I think
I also thank you so much, gentlemen. One of the best and the most happiest teachers or senior citizens of this country is my headmaster, Abraham Kapongor Onapa. He taught me from primary 3 up to P7. He was my teacher of English and science. So he loves seeing me on TV, and I don't think I've misrepresented him. Okay. So teacher Abraham Kapongor, he's now a retired man. He's there. I love him so much, and I owe him a lot because those were our teachers, not these ones who are looking for a vocational job. And come. My teacher was not looking for a vocational job. Yeah. So, but thank you so much, gentlemen. I just want to let the viewers know that we will have another engagement like this tomorrow at same time, 3 to 4. Then we'll return on Friday. We want to thank the Ministry of Education and Sports for this initiative, and of course also appreciating and thanking UNESCO that's powering this. Thank you so much, UNESCO, and the Ministry, of course. And we hope that all of us want to see the best out of our education system, because we know that it is the education system that mirrors its people or its citizens. We thank you so much, wishing you a very blessed weekend until tomorrow at 3 p.m. when we return with the same conversation here. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka, saying good evening and bye for today.
Teacher Management Information System, TMIS, is one of the innovations the Ministry of Education and Sports has rolled out to have all teachers register online. This is in line with the spirit of the National Teacher Policy to professionalize the teaching profession and the Ministry's effort to collate teacher data in a single database for better teaching.